you. So it's been another busy month for the Philadelphia Fire Department and Office of Emergency Management. We've been doing a lot of things. Of course, unfortunately, far too many fires. We want to remind folks again that fire is everyone's fight. So please help us help you and do everything you can to live a fire-safe life. Be careful with cooking, heating, smoking, electrical appliances, and certainly open flame. You can go to our website at phila.gov/fire to find some great fire prevention tips. And remember as well, today's a special day for us. It's the overnight, the beginning of daylight savings time. And we always remind folks on this day to, when you go to bed, when you change your clocks, check the batteries in your smoke alarms. And if your smoke alarm has a place where you can replace the battery, it's time to get a new one. Of course, the smoke alarms we're installing now have 10-year sealed lithium-ion batteries. If you call 311 and you need a smoke alarm, we'll add your name to the list. We're hoping to start that program again now as we get further through COVID. They also, of course, make great gifts. Smoke alarms do. But remember, when you change your clocks, check or change the batteries in your smoke alarms. Those are so important. That's happening overnight tonight. Another thing we've been doing, yesterday was really a great day for us. We had our first fire department staff community vaccination clinic. Our dedicated paramedics we've been vaccinating, making sure that all our members are vaccinated with the safe and effective vaccines. Yesterday, in partnership with Reverend Mason at Northeast Baptist in Frankfurt, we were able to, standing side by side with our partners from Public Health, Office of Emergency Management, we were able to vaccinate 190 community members yesterday. Really a great day. We're so proud and honored to be part of that mission now and directly providing vaccine. In addition to the 800 to 1,000 emergency incidents that we respond to every day, 24/7, 365, Let's Talk Safety is all about proactive ways that we can address emergencies and address risk in our city together. And one of those ways now, in addition to fire prevention and being cautious with around water and wearing bike helmets and all the other things that we talk about, it's getting these safe and effective vaccines. We know it's been a challenge for folks to access those, and we're really happy that in addition to continuing efforts in our cooperations with the faith-based community, the Fire Department and Office of Emergency Management are also supporting Dr. Stanford and the Black Doctors COVID Consortium and a number of their vaccine clinics. We are also going to be opening several fire department clinics in the next couple weeks at locations around the city. So stay tuned for that. We're excited to be getting this vaccine where it needs to go, and we hope folks will take advantage of it as we get more and more vaccine here in the city, and we get it to more and more places in neighborhoods around this great city. So March is a big month for us. It is this March in particular, it is the 150th anniversary of the Philadelphia Fire Department. We're going to be celebrating that on Monday. Our actual anniversary is March 15th. The fire department was founded on March 15th, 1871. Now, it's important to note that the Philadelphia Fire Department, as you've heard us say before, traces its lineage back to Ben Franklin in 1736. And what happened between 1736 and 1871? There were a lot of different fire companies around the city. They weren't necessarily affiliated with each other. They didn't always work together. So in 1871, the professional career Philadelphia Fire Department was formed 150 years ago. And Brian, why don't you tell us a little bit more about the history of the current Philadelphia Fire Department and its evolution from serving 674,000 people in 1871 to now almost 1.6 million residents of our great city.
Yes, so as you said, we've been around 150 years, replacing the 92 loose Confederate volunteer companies. We started with 22 engines and 5 ladders for the paid department that took over some of the volunteer fire company firehouses. And leading up to the day, we've had the growth of 22 different men who were tasked with leading this department. And we've also had the lineage of a lot of these families that had deep roots in the department, have been around since great-grandfather, grandfather, father, brother, uncle, and now daughters and nieces of this great department. Both are firefighters and paramedics and EMTs on this job.
Great, thank you, Brian. And for those of you who are regular listeners, last month, in honor of both Black History Month and also, of course, March, we celebrate International Women's Day. And as a way of honoring the many women that we have in the Philadelphia Fire Department Office of Emergency Management, we had some great guests, some of our great women members last month. And we hope everybody will be able to check that show out online. This month, with the anniversary, we really wanted to focus on our history and some of those great legacies that we have. So, Ken, why don't you talk a little bit about your career and how, in your family, I think you're the first of now a two-generation Philadelphia Fire Department family, and kind of how that evolved.
Well, actually, 10 years before I came on, I had a brother that was on the job, Jonathan Clark. He came on in the mid to early 70s, and he was stationed at Engine 45 also. And later on, in 85, I came on. Actually, I came on, as you were speaking a minute ago, of females on the fire department. I came on with the very first female on the fire department, Afro-American, Paulette Kennedy. And I came on in 85 and stationed at Engine 54 out of fire school, and stayed there for a year. Went to Engine 34, stayed there for about 6 years. And in 91, when they put Rescue 1 in service, I transferred to Ladder 14. And I stayed there for, I guess, around about 26 years. I was there until my recent transfer. And in 2005, actually, my son is here now. In 2005, came on, right?
2008.
2008, my son came on, and since then, he's been 13 years now.
13 years.
13 years he's been fighting fire and alongside me, and we were stationed at Ladder 14 together at one point. I was on the C platoon, he was on the B platoon. So we've had a nice run with the fire department.
Great. Jamel, why don't you introduce yourself to our listeners? Thanks for joining us. We know you're working, so you could have to leave at any moment, but we really appreciate you joining us, and just kind of pick up where your dad left off and tell folks about your career so far.
Yes. First off, my name is Firefighter Jamel Barnwell. I'm stationed currently at Engine 73 at 76 in Ogons. I've been on for 13 years now. That just passed February. That just passed. Again, like my father said, I spent three years down at Ladder 14. Got some ladder experience, and the rest of the 10 years has been on the engine. I did 10 years on the engine, and it's been a blessing, and it's been a great ride so far.
Great. Well, many more years to come for your career, and it's really great to have yet another example of how the Philadelphia Fire Department can be a family affair and be the family business. I'm really glad, Kent, that you mentioned Paulette Kennedy. I want to remind everybody, especially as the weather gets nice, not too far of a walk from Fireman's Hall Museum, right next door to Engine 8, Ladder 2 in Old City. We have the mural that we commissioned last November, seemingly a lifetime ago, that honors the entire history of the Philadelphia Fire Department. And Paulette Kennedy is one of the firefighters who's featured on that mural. And if you heard Brian say, since 1736, or I guess since 1871, Brian, we've had 22 chief engineers and commissioners of the Philadelphia Fire Department all men. And of course, we are hoping that in the not too distant future, that changes. That doesn't mean I'm going anywhere, but we have so many great women in the fire department and Office of Emergency Management. We certainly hope that, someday we're able to add women and men to that list of chief engineers and fire commissioners through the years. Jack, you have been the historian for, since appointed by, one of my fantastic predecessors, Commissioner Lloyd Ayers, 2008, and you have published a book, Horses to Horsepower. You're working on another book project. Talk a little bit about, you have a historian's blog on the museum's website. Talk a little bit about what you see as some of the signal events and the history of the Philadelphia Fire Department. Just a couple, because we know there are a lot.
Oh, God, we could take up so much time otherwise. It's really difficult. I mean, the ones that stand out are probably the ones where we lost lives of members. And, when that happens, you take what you learned from that and you build on it. And a lot of good firefighting tactics were developed over the years as a result of things such as that. Zoning laws have come into play now that you didn't have back in the 1800s, early 1900s. So things are a little bit more safer. The apparatus is basically the same, but you don't have to pull it. It's not pulled by horses anymore. It has air conditioning now too. Power tools, things, a truck company back in 1871 had an officer and 11 members. And the reason for that was everything was manual labor. Now you have power tools that can help you with different, to gain forcible entry, to open a roof, to get the work done. A better hose line. The one thing that I say probably revolutionized the entire business is radios. Because when you had the old bell system, once you left the station, you were out of touch. So you were like a man in the middle of the ocean. And you didn't know what was going on until you came back. Now everybody has a radio. It's a little bit more safer. And the fact that everyone can kind of know where everyone is, you can keep track of people. I just think it's probably one of the best things that ever happened to the fire service.
Great, thank you, Jack. And Brian, Jack mentioned the bell system, and one of the many things that folks can see if they come visit Fireman's Hall Museum is an example. They can see a working replica of exactly how that happened, how the bells were rung out, the fireboxes. They can certainly see many examples of both horse-drawn apparatus and motorized apparatus, but as well as hand-drawn apparatus. I think we're probably the only fire museum in the U.S. that has a 300-year-old, quote-unquote, fire apparatus, the hand engine that served Germantown many, many years ago before it was even incorporated in the city of Philadelphia. What else can folks see when they come visit the museum? I know that's by reservation only right now. We're hopeful that soon, once we get further along through COVID together, we can open the museum up entirely. But talk about some of the things that folks can see there, and in particular, some of the commemorative items that they can check out available this year as part of our 150th anniversary celebration.
Well, if you come down, you will be able to see some of the evolution of apparatus that was used from the hand engines to the steamers, going into the American La France motorized apparatus that we have on the apparatus floor. Reflecting back to what you said, we have an actual system that's hooked up where you can pull the firebox. It sets off the Joker system, and I'll explain how that works from the time the firebox is pulled at the fire location to the bell system going through to the firehouse, alerting the firefighters that there is actual response, an emergency response. You will also see on our second floor our iconic wall that is memorializes the 297 firefighters that have died from 1871 to current, that is overseen by our stained glass wall that was put in 1977 when we did an add-on to the museum. We did some upgrades to our extended visitors that are not able to come visit us due to COVID. There's a lot of things you can see online through our social media websites and platforms that you can see that explains about the museum. But there, we also will be talking about the past chief engineers and commissioners and the names of the families that run deep in this family with multi-generations. Just a couple years ago, just last year, we celebrated father and daughter duos. So we have a lot of projects working on. There'll be a lot of new exhibits and new displays down here that commemorates our 150 year and our growth with commemorative shirts and challenge coins, as well as our patch that we have celebrating our 150th year. So we've been working diligently to get to this point to celebrate the birthday of the fire department.
Great, thank you, Brian. And you know, certain things we can't plan on the show, and one of the things you heard when Brian was talking, you heard the sirens in the background. That's just one of the 800 to 1,000 responses that our members do every day. Emergency medical services, fires. We actually have a severe fire happening right now. We've had a couple of working fires today, a couple last night. We had a 2-alarm fire just this week. So this is something that is happening. Really, frankly, the history of the Philadelphia Fire Department is still being written every day with the dedicated service of our almost 3,000 women and men, along with our staff at the Office of Emergency Management. Couldn't be more proud to be part of that team. And it's really great to be able to be here and be part of the 150th anniversary celebration. I know there are a couple organizations that are doing commemorative things. Our Philadelphia Fire Department Foundation has designed T-shirts that we'll be allowing our members to wear on duty for the duration of our 150th year. You can check those out at phillyfire.org. That's PHILLYFIRE.org. That's the Philadelphia Fire Department Foundation. And Brian, I think the address for the Fireman's Hall store is exactly that, firemanshallstore.com. And what can folks get to help us commemorate the 150th? I know there are a couple different items the museum's been working on.
Right, so we have the 150-year patch, which is different. It's gives a little bit of our past, present, and future where we like to go. We have a new challenge coin, which is an antique steamer engine. And we will be having a 150-year T-shirt with the patch in maroon in color with the old PFD Bureau Fire on and nice illustration on the back. That will be on our website as of March 15th.
Great, thanks, Brian. One of the things we always, another one of our missions here on Let's Talk Safety is to encourage our listeners to consider a career in the fire department and Office of Emergency Management. If you know somebody, we have lots of different jobs that are available from our dispatchers, incredibly dedicated, of course, our firefighters, our medics, EMTs. We have an amazing civilian support staff that, just like us, works 24/7, 365 to ensure the fire department has everything we need to save lives and protect property. And we always like to hear about folks' journey to the fire department. We've heard of that a little bit. Jamel, talk a little bit about what made you interested, coming. I know sometimes for young folks, being in the family business is the last thing that you want to get involved in. In this case, you did follow in your dad's footsteps. So what encouraged you to do that? What really, how did you decide to make a career in the fire department?
Well, one of the things that I always admired my dad about was, that he had a good work ethic. So when he brought me to the station, when I was little, and I, seeing what they did, always helping people. That's what I wanted to do. I also thought that I could be a professional basketball player, but that didn't work out. So I said that I want to be like my father, and I want to go and help people. And I think every kid that I see now being on the fire truck, they always waving at the firemen, and they want to get on the truck. It's just a great job, for lack of better words. Everybody loves firemen, and he was just he had a big role for me being a fireman today.
Great, thank you for that. And we always love to have callers. I think we have a caller on line 1.
Oh, yes. Hello?
Yes, go ahead. You're on Let's Talk Safety. Thanks for calling in.
Oh, good. Appreciate it, Commissioner, for taking my call. The reason for my wanting to call in today is I'm the son of a former Philadelphia fire lieutenant. Unfortunately, he suffered a critical injury that caused him to have to be retired medically many years ago. My question was, after hearing, I think the gentleman at the museum mentioned, the Wall of Honor for firefighters that were killed during the line of duty. If it's possible, and I'm not sure if you have a wall that puts out the names of firefighters that were injured, fighting fires as well and had to retire. He was a valiant member as well back in the day, but that was the reason why I called it.
No, thank you so much for your call. It actually raises another great point about the museum. And Jack, I think we keep records of almost, if not everyone, who's worked for the Philadelphia Fire Department. Is that right, through the years?
Well, we have everyone from 1871 to 1954. Anything after that, we usually have to go through personnel because they changed how they logged them. But we can get information on them, yes.
So it's really a great point. That's, one of the services the museum provides. And of course, as we work through different phases of city administrations, that's definitely something that we can work with the museum to look into. Certainly for us, once a member of the Philadelphia Fire Department family, always a member of the Philadelphia Fire Department family. So we appreciate, caller, we appreciate your service, your family's service, and that's definitely something we'll make sure that we pass along to the board of the museum, and of course you have the historian and the curator here on the call. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Jack, talk about some of the other records, truly, priceless records that are kept at the Paul Museum about, going back.
We have records of every extra alarm fire that has ever taken place. I think the total is now like 6,695. Well, 96 now, counting Thursday. We have the rundowns for them and everything. We keep records on all the apparatus that's assigned to companies. I personally try to photograph all the changes as well with the apparatus. Trying to think of some of the other things. The insurance patrol that used to operate in the city, we have extensive records. Just various, statistics for over the years. We have them as well.
Great, thank you, Jack, and thanks for everything that you do to help. You've done over the years to and continue to do to help maintain that priceless collection of of history. Ken, you talked about your brother and his example and kind of your journey to the fire department. How did you feel? And again, as I think the caller suggested, we know that firefighting and emergency medical services work can be very dangerous. Obviously, we train our members rigorously. It's a 9-month academy, and we do everything we can in providing equipment and apparatus and everything we can to keep folks safe. The unfortunate reality is that we do have firefighters and medics who are injured in the line of duty, who are tragically killed in the line of duty. How did you feel? Any hesitation to having Jamel follow in your footsteps? I mean, it's wonderful, the family business, for so many reasons that he highlighted. Ever any concerns about him? You have had a front row seat to some of the tragedies in our department over the years, as we've lost our sister and brother firefighters. So, how did it make you feel to have, on balance, to have Jamel follow in your footsteps?
Well, of course, by him being my son and knowing the dangers of the job, it raises a lot of, feelings of fear at times, and knowing, what happens on the job. So a lot of times I was scared, but I knew he was trained by some of the best instructors in the academy. And that helps also too, to be trained by good, instructors. But you still have the feeling of fear, and hopefully nothing does happen, But, it's all in God's hands at the end of the day, So we just have to pray on it, and hopefully nothing does happen. And that's what I do every night when he's working, even when he's not working. So,
thank you for that. And Brian, talk a little bit about your career journey. The museum has a couple different functions. One of the primary functions of the museum is to help get our messages of fire prevention and life safety education into the community, to everybody who visits. We have a 911 simulator there. We have a lot of great exhibits about fire safety, and that's a big part of our mission, why the museum was formed originally. And you're a firefighter. You started out as a line firefighter here in Philadelphia. What drew you to the position of curator at the museum, and the first African-American curator at Fireman's Hall Museum? What made you interested in that aspect of what we do?
That's a very interesting, very interesting story, Commissioner. I am a second-generation firefighter. My father was on for 26 years, was a lieutenant for 24 of those 26 years, and seeing his commitment to service and life safety, I wanted to follow in it after serving in the military, in the Marine Corps for 4.5 years. I was assigned to Engine 63 out of the Academy in 2000. I spent some time there for a couple years, and then went to 72s, and then later on transferred to 34s. And when firefighters were doing rotations, I was rotated to Engine 16, and I tore my meniscus in my right knee doing training up the Academy. I was out a year, and at that time, the current curator, Alberto Gonzalez, who was the first actual Latino curator, was retiring at 30 years of service. So I was asked if I wanted to come out due to that I had time of seniority. So I did, and never planned to be a curator. It's very challenging. The museum, who is also, I govern this with the Philadelphia Fire Department Historical Corporation, which is a bunch of volunteers from the private sector. And we stress, as the mission here, is our job to record, research, and display the history of firefighting here in Philadelphia, but more importantly, the history of the Philadelphia Fire Department. And due to we roughly get about 40,000 visitors a year. Obviously, with COVID, that's not happening. We started some programs just 2 years ago where we wanted to educate young youth about fire safety. Being a part of the curator, even though I'm here running the museum, I am assigned to fire prevention. And that is the mission of fire prevention, to embed the mission, the message of fire prevention to all, especially our youth. So that's when we started an education program for kids pre-K to third grade. And we also have the kiosk, which not only gives you questions on how to use 911, but important information that can be obtained from that call to help what that person actually needs, whether it's a medical assistance or fire assistance. And we keep strong with that, and that's what we're doing here now, reevaluating that and spreading the message even wider now, using our social media platforms to have virtual tours of the museum. And we still give our quarterly fire prevention message on our social media platforms.
Yeah, you've done an amazing job getting content online. Talk about the Curators Corner videos that you do and how folks can access those.
Right. So how that came about there's so much history here in the museum that we can't obviously display it all. And doing the Curators Corner is not only an opportunity for our members on the job to learn the history of different events that happened over the year, but to our audience abroad. And anybody can get it. If you go right to our channel on YouTube, it's Fireman's Hall Museum channel on YouTube, and you can see all of our programs that we've done, from the Curators Corner to our special anniversary memorial services that we have. We did one for the Gulf Fire that happened in 1975, and we did one just recently last month for the Meridian, serving the 30-year anniversary of that, as well as any of the programs that we have. Our membership meeting nights we have that are also on there, and we will have a virtual presentation for 150th celebration as of Monday to view on our social media platform.
Right, so I'm glad you brought that up. That's Monday, this coming Monday, the 15th of March at, is it 10 a.m., Brian?
Yes, 10 a.m. to 11.
So folks can check that out on the Fireman's Hall Museum Facebook, and I'm sure we'll have that streaming on our Philadelphia Fire Department social media channels as well. One of the things we're going to be doing over the course of this year is building out a couple of or a few time capsules that a great idea that came from our staff, actually from Nicole Monson, my long-serving executive assistant, had a great idea to do a time capsule. So we're going to be putting a variety of items in time capsules that will be open at some point in the future or different points in the future, and a lot of other content and great events that Brian mentioned over the course of the coming year. Of course, we had hoped to be doing the 150th anniversary in a much bigger way here on March 15th. But we're hoping that as we get through COVID, we can continue to have a whole year of events to commemorate the dedicated service of so many thousands of Philadelphia Fire Department members through the years. And Jamel, talk a little bit about the, kind of a day in the life for you and your colleagues, your sister and brother firefighters, and everything that you all do to take care of folks in neighborhoods across the city. I think a lot of people wonder, what is a day in the life of a firefighter? So talk a little bit about everything that you all do in addition to fighting fires and responding to emergency medical incidents. Now, of course, we have a lot of our members who are supporting vaccination efforts. So just kind of give folks a sense of the day in the life of a Philadelphia Fire Department firefighter in 2021.
Oh, all right. Well, first, considering COVID, we have to first make sure that we're protected and we have on all of our proper PPE when we go out. But most of all, our day consists of we come in the morning on our day shifts, 8 o'clock. We check our equipment. We go over the truck. Depending on what you're doing that day, if you're driving, you do a 360 of the apparatus, check and make sure, the truck is performing properly. You also check your personal equipment, such as your SCBA, your turnout gear, make sure everything is working good. We also have a medical bag that we check and make sure that we have, oxygen, Narcan, glucose, things of that nature, to make sure that when we go in people's houses that need medical assistance, that we have the proper equipment to take care of them until the paramedics get there and they transport them to the hospital. We also have, our firehouse that we have to take care of, which is just like home. It operates just like home. We have to, make sure things is done, like taking care of dishes, things of that nature, housework. That's pretty much the gist of that. And that's basically it. Besides us going on fires, people know about when we have a fire, we pull up to the fire, we extinguish it, evacuate people, get them out to safety first. And that's pretty much all I can think of right now about what goes on in the firehouse, what we do on a day-to-day basis.
Great, thank you. And Kent, another characteristic of firefighters and medics is they, at least in my experience now, almost 30 years, so not quite as long as you, but in my experience, firefighters and medics are very multifaceted people. You are way up there in terms of being multifaceted. You have a lot of other things that you do. And talk a little bit about some of the other ways that you stay engaged with the community and things you do out there, and some of your other interests that I think you folks might find compelling.
Well, a lot of people on the job, they call me the Grillologist, in which I do a lot of grilling.
For good reason.
Yeah, thank you. I do a lot of grilling at the station, at home, just around the area, right there. Well, also too, I'm the bass player for Harold Melvin's Blue Notes, in which we perform all over the country, the world, and wherever we're hired to go and play. And I also play for the Intruders and a few other local groups of the city, or professional groups of the city. So between barbecuing and playing music, I come to work every day at the Philadelphia Fire Department.
Great, thank you. And obviously, I can attest to how good some of the food coming off those grills are. So thank you for that.
You're much welcome.
Jack, I know that producing a book can be, from experience, it's a real labor of love, and it's a lot of effort. It's a beautiful book, Horses to Horsepower. I know you're working on another project. Talk to folks a little bit about what went into that book, the first book, and what you're working on now that they can anticipate.
Actually, the first book I did was actually Hike Out, which was for the 125th anniversary back in 1996. Prior to starting on that, I was working on a book for the apparatus history, which turned out to be From Horses to Horsepower. And I wound up putting nearly 30 years of work into that, just by extension of pushing it off. The current project is probably going to be an extension of Hike Out to cover the 150th the first 150 years. So I'm looking at some ways where we can make changes, found some mistakes, fixed them, and that's what we're looking at for the next one. So it might still be called Hike Out, which is a Philly term. They used to yell when they had the horses, and they would yell, "Hike out, you gotta run." So that's the current project I'm currently involved with.
Great. And are there still copies of From Horses to Horsepower available at the museum?
Yes, there are roughly about 140 left. So once they're gone, that's the end of it. There'll be no reprints. So if people don't have them, act now.
It really is a beautiful book, and of course, as we've talked about before, I'm hoping that we'll have brought in enough new apparatus to have you get a volume 2 or at least a supplement out the door in the next few years.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens. There is a lot going on, so it's actually makes the hobby fun when there's new stuff coming in. So get out and get those things documented as well for our history.
Great, thank you, Jack. So Brian, let's get ready to close out the show here with just a quick recap of where is the museum, how can folks get there, how do they make a reservation, some of the online things they can do, and then some of the special 150th anniversary events that we have planned.
So the museum is located at 147 North 2nd Street, right at 2nd and Race. You can go to our website, which is firemanshallmuseum.org, and go shop online through our gift shop. You can purchase items there, and we will ship them out to you. For the 150th, we'll be reading the proclamation doing the time capsule, which is something we're really looking forward to. Memorializing and recognizing those 22 leaders of this great department and getting more information out about the families who have deep ties to this great department, so that all can view and see how deep the blood in firefighting runs within the family.
Great. Thank you, Brian, and thanks to all of our fantastic guests. Such an honor to join you all and be part of this history dating back to 1871 and then even further back to 1736 for our listeners. Thank you, most of all, for joining us today. Sorry if we had a few bumps with the technology. We're excited to get back in the studio. Of course, we'll be on the air no matter what next month for the April edition of Let's Talk Safety. Until then, you can follow us at Philly Fire Department, at Phila OEM. You can follow me at TL Adam. And, of course, thanks to our board operator and thanks to WURD Radio at onWURD, independent Black Talk Radio right here in the city of Philadelphia. Please be safe and have a great weekend. Thank you all. Thanks, everybody.